Hello, friends.
And enemies.
Let's discuss. Sunflowers painted on the ceiling. Acknowledged.
Per the draft language of Article 2, the only value that UU congregations will be explicitly accountable for is the value of justice. This justice value in the proposed Article 2 is the eighth principle, phrased slightly differently. The intent of making only justice an accountable value is to single out anti-racism, anti-oppression as the highest priority with Unitarian Universalism. UU congregations and members will thus be officially accountable for anti-racism and anti-oppression and multicultural missions, AR-AOMC missions. You should be wondering what those AR-AOMC missions might be. I think a review of the Action of Immediate Witness, AIWS, from the past 6 years at General Assembly gives you a good idea of what kind of anti-racism, anti-oppression, and multicultural missions will be chosen in the future. Some of the AIWs approved in the recent past would have been controversial if they had been mandatory instead of voluntary.
Yes.
Some UU members would not have been comfortable being obligated to actively support every action item in the AIWs, like calls to abolish the Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, which came up in 2018 and 2020, or support defunding the police, 2020 and 2021. The point of centralizing power is to decide what missions have the highest priority and to obligate all UU congregations and members to give those missions their greatest focus, then hold them accountable. Is that where you want me to stop?
It's like... have you guys ever listened to the other side? To what kind of propaganda they're being fed? Because it is... You guys are starting a war.
Yeah, they have...
You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, because the right believes that phrases like defund the police...
Political statements,
like defund the police, or what's another one? Black Lives Matter. Like that these are...
calls to action.
And that for terrorism. So they if you... And I'm saying they believe this, and it's because it is there's propaganda... And like
people believe propaganda. You're not better than other people.
Powerful, decades-long propaganda machine has at this point corrupted generations of Americans.
Yes.
The reality of generations of Americans.
Yes.
This is why I think it's so distasteful at the very least to look down on people who have been essentially brainwashed a lot of the time. Their information has been controlled, and they have... The people in charge on the right have no problem with twisting reality. They have no obligation to the truth, reality, morals, any of the things that we take for granted. They do not have any obligation to them, and they know that we do, and they mess with them to bog us down.
Yes.
And then so what they have done is made very clear messaging that things like people who say defund the police want to destroy America. They literally,
they're
terrorists. So when push comes to shove, the gun-toting, heavily propagandized people that so many of
they're mad at us.
UUs and other liberals, like the people that they look down on,
don't take seriously at all.
They are ready to fight, and we are not.
No.
And the fact that they don't want to have a conversation with you about what you really mean by those words.
No.
Especially when so often these conversations turn into someone coming down from an ivory tower to bring enlightenment to the poor savages.
It sucks.
If and I know you wouldn't use the word savage, but you might use some other...
just so much contempt.
Yeah.
So much contempt. I don't know. I was mad at church last week. I was like, hey, she kind of assumed that we all went to college.
Yeah.
The person I was complaining with said, well, you did go to college. And I was like, what?
I didn't.
But my husband, What? How is this not a welcoming community for the majority of people? Like, most people don't go to college. Like, we're a major religion, guys, with, like, what I think are pretty good values.
Yeah. And if you're claiming to do social justice work, you
need to know how to be around people.
And you have to be social. And that includes people you don't like.
Yes.
That's what pluralism means. Yes. It means accepting people even despite their differences and looking for the things that you have in common.
Yes. Time for a tiny sermon. This TikTok sermon comes from Jules in the Vibe. This is uncensored. Be aware, she uses the F word a lot. If you have kids around, just skip like 4 minutes. I'll try to put a censored version up, but I think her message is really, really apt. Enjoy!
So I hate to be the one to break this to you, but you are actually the exact type of person that people in the South do not want fucking moving to the South. Liberals have this idea, and leftists tend to have this idea, that the South needs their help, and that they need to come into the South and they need to help them because we're better educated. We know more. We need to go in and we need to help these people. And you throw this pity on the South because you think we need to be fixed. And I'm not saying that the South does not have its problems. I'm not saying that racism is not incredibly prevalent there and that these racist ideologies are not very much ingrained in Southern culture, because they are. There are lots of parts of the South where racism is still a huge issue. But do you want to know why? I made a whole video talking about the reason that the rest of America sees the US South is as dumb or uneducated is because education in the South is always something that has been hard to obtain because the South is very poor, and the South is also very much contains more people of color than other parts of America. And during the segregation era, because schools were segregated, black schools that also tended to be in low-income areas were very much underfunded in comparison to their white peers. And so we're still having to face those issues. Desegregation is something that the South is still working on. Slavery was not that long ago. So if you're poor and living in the South, you are probably living in one of these areas that was incredibly underfunded because it was probably mostly black at the time. And because the South has such a high minority population, it is something that the government is still not interested in fixing, because if there's anything the government hates more than poor people, it's people of color. So they really don't give a fuck about poor people of color. And I'm not trying to speak for black Americans. I want to make that very clear. I understand that the situations that black Americans may face in the South is even worse than I could probably even begin to fathom, but they do not need your pity. They don't need you to feel bad for them. They know that shit sucks. And instead of trying to go to these communities with the intention of helping rise the community and helping the community as a whole, you're coming in with this idea that I'm better than these people and these people need to be fixed is atrocious and gross, to be honest. Yourself tend to come in with this idea of I'm smart. I have an education. You should trust me. These people don't give a fuck about your education. South does not need you to pity it and make it feel like it needs to be fixed. My grandmother, bless her heart, is 80 years, I don't know how old grandma is, but she's close to 80. And sometimes she says things that are not PC and that are not right. And do I correct her? No. And lots of liberals tend to have this idea of like, oh, you should be correcting your grandmother. Homegirl is 80, okay? And I know she does not have a bad bone in her body. I know she doesn't. But there is no point in correcting her, okay? She's out the door. She isn't going to change her the way she's talking anyways. The way the South is going to change is it's going to come in generations. It is not going to be a one and done fix. It is going to take years and years to change the beliefs of the South, and part of that comes from not having a fucking high horse about it. If you come to these people with these certain beliefs and you say, I'm better than you and you're stupid for believing this, do you think they're gonna fucking listen to you? They're gonna tell you to get the fuck out of their face, okay? They're going to tell you to get the fuck out. And I want to make it clear, just again here at the end, I'm in no way trying to say that the South doesn't have its issues, and I'm in no way trying to speak for black Americans in the area or people of color in the area and say what I think, how I think they feel or anything like that. I'm just stating this from someone who is from the South and what I have observed, okay? I I encourage other people of color, Black Americans specifically from the South, to comment and to tell me what they think, because this is what I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's the difference, is I'm willing to say maybe I'm wrong about this, and let other people guide me into what maybe is more correct. And when fucking Californian liberal ass Democrats come in to the South, they come in with this idea that they already know better and they already know more, and that it's their job to fix the South. It is not your fucking job, especially when you don't fucking understand it. So anyways, if you have this idea that maybe Southern Americans need to be fixed and it's because they're stupid, and oh, well, I have better beliefs and so I should move out there so that maybe they will have better beliefs, you need to get the fuck out of my face. Thank you so much. Bless your little heart, God. I'll pray for you.
You're not better than anyone else. No one is better than you. Arminianism is the thing that Unitarians and the evangelicals that use the sanctuary after the Unitarians have in common.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
which is
similar books with the Jewish congregation that's here,
mm-hmm.
but they're backwards. So
right. I don't
know what they say.
I don't
know what they say, but I think they're pretty similar to the Christianity book, and the Unitarians sometimes talk about Jesus, mm-hmm. among other things.
It's a little fresher.
Fresher is a great. But in general,
the sanctimonious, contemptuous nature of a lot of liberals, and a lot of the people that are on the left that seem to have like not just abandoned the working class, but like genuinely hate them.
We're too haunted to abandon the working class. Our church is in a capitalist old house, and he is the reason there were several strikes, and he did a lot of bad stuff.
He did do a lot of bad stuff.
And like, I can't abandon the working class here.
Yeah, we have to.
It's just like, it's spiritual, so I don't know. I'm not gonna say that we don't have a hierarchy of people with like the most educated, using the right words, people on top, mm-hmm. and then everyone else at the bottom. Like, that's Calvinism, guys, and that is dumb. I said it. Calvinism is dumb. I don't like it. Pluralism, I still respect you. That's fine.
Yeah.
You should read more Reddit, too.
Calvinism.
I don't like Calvinism.
I don't either. I fundamentally disagree with it. But like, as far as like people who are Calvinists, I don't think I'm better than them.
Go live your best life.
Yeah.
There's something in like the Calvinism of G.K. Chesterton did a thing about this that was like, Calvinism has a lot of like superstitious moral tales. Like, if you play around on the Sabbath, you could drown. Little Timmy drowned because he was playing on the Sabbath, so you gotta just rest on the Sabbath. Those are the rules. And like, that's like a Calvinist sort of moral tale. Like, if you do this, this thing will happen. Everything has like a pretty direct cause and effect. Mm-hmm. But like, maybe the story is like a little bit useful and a little bit true, because like, little Timmy, if you don't chill out, your mama's gonna kill you. Like, you like.
Well, there's also, I mean, just like,
it has some utility and some usefulness, and there's a time and a place for Calvinism. Mm-hmm. Just don't invite me.
Right. Well, the reason you would drown on the Sabbath is because there's nobody else around to help you.
That's a real answer.
You know, like, because everybody's resting, and like,
no lifeguard on duty.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for watching. We're really happy to have these conversations. If you disagree, that's cool. Please keep it kind in the comments. Thanks for thinking along with us today.